And now we see the yuan as a clear example of something that can go wrong. I've had conversations on the show that say World War III is not going to be a military engagement. It's a currency war of China versus the US. And we know globally what they're doing with all of their outlays and their asset investments. And now, like you said, you want to be a part of this club, you have to, play by the rules of our digital currency. It's happening. So this will be how the world plays out, right?
It's funny. Almost every war is a result of historical disagreements that have come to the surface. And yet every war also gives us a glimpse at the future. The Gulf Wars gave us a glimpse of unmanned combat, drone strikes and everything, which are now part of daily combat around the world. Well, this war is giving us a future of weaponizing of currency to fight wars. And that's punishing bad actors, oligarchs and the like, but it's also punishing common citizens throughout that area, whether they be Russian, Ukrainian, or other residents of Central Europe. And so, in any war, you have precision instruments, and you also have fallout that attack non-combatants and people that you weren't intended to attack. I think we are seeing a glimpse of the future, and that is something we need to be concerned about. And I think the United States needs to be concerned. When you weaponize the dollar, people are taking notice of that and thinking about it. And I don't want to get into what the right response is to the aggression we're seeing in Ukraine. I think these are tough choices for our national leaders. And sanctions for all their shortcomings, they're perhaps a better alternative than actual warfare, less people die. So I'm not an opponent to the use of sanctions, but every movement has a consequence, and there will be consequences in this as well.
Are you surprised how much the dollar has been weaponized in this war and how that's been used as a tool? Because it took me by surprise by how much it went and how that's been pursued in all countries around the world, seizing assets. I didn't see this coming.
I agree. The cohesion of the West, I think, has taken a lot of people by absolute surprise. This sanctions power is the apex of sanctions power and the use of sanctions in history, and its consequences, may well destroy the Russian economy. I don't know whether it stops the war; that will remain to be seen. But they're devastating in impact, certainly devastating on the sanctioned institutions and sanctioned people. And again, I'm not going to argue that, but the point I want to make for us in a free society is we need to make sure that the digital money of the future, there are societal and legal controls on weaponization of money. I mean, just as our constitutions reflect certain controls on warfare, there needs to be a vote of the Congress, a legislature, right? We've always put controls around the sovereign's use of the tool of warfare to reflect societal values. Well, maybe we need similar restrictions. It's one thing to use the weaponization of money against combatants in a war, but what about using them against political opponents to the party in power? And we've seen suggestions of that, if not, use of that in North America. And so I think that time has come. We need a full societal engagement in this digital revolution in finance and banking. The positives are extraordinary. The ability to bring billions of people into financial inclusion, the ability to lower the cost of money, the ability to, as I said before, move money not just in space but in time, the ability to speed the velocity of money. We're going probably into a very low growth period of economic growth. Well, if we can speed money, that could bring us into a new era of enormous economic growth, right? So the potential positives on this are extraordinary, but the potential negatives for surveillance, for censorship, are concerning. And the answer is not going to be stop time, keep it the way it is, because technology marches on. The answer has got to be we've all got to get smarter. We've all got to get in the game. We've all got to be part of the conversation in government, out of government, as to how do we use this tool to raise society up, to raise civilization up, and not to bring us down.
And the dollar isn't digital now, and it's still being weaponized to a very high extent. Is that damage the dollar's reputation in the long run, do you think?
I'll let history be the judge of that. Again, I find the use of sanctions, as I say, preferable to warfare. but it's going to have consequences. We're going to have to see how that plays out. I will say this. There's something about a free society that's a beautiful thing. Something about this revolution, this generational revolution, I find a beautiful thing. There are people that have had no interest in Wall Street and finance that are suddenly coming out in this. There's a lot of disagreement, but it's a healthy kind of, the public square on this subject is one of the most free public squares there are. A lot of other public squares in our modern life are kind of black and white. If you take one, and the media points who are the guys with the white hats and who are the guys in the black hats, and if you're wearing a black hat, you're bad. I think in this area, there's a lot of free debate going on, and that's what you want to have in a free society. I don't have all the answers. Brian, you don't have all the answers, but the debate is rich and it's exciting and the innovation is there, and that's what we need to revitalize our democracies.